When Haruto Amikawa was young, he had to move, so his childhood friend Miharu was pretty sad about it. He promised they would meet again and marry, even to protect her if he dies. Many years later, Haruto is now a teen. The bus he rides in goes out of control and gets slammed by the train. A flashback shows that in high school, he was devastated to see Miharu go out with a new guy. Now, Haruto is reborn, this time as a kid named Ryo who lives in the slums. He cannot fathom why he is having memories of this Haruto person in this Japan place. He remembers asking his mom why his hair is black, and that's because the family came from a very faraway place and his mom got killed. And all on Ryo's mind is revenge. Soon, a group of hooded girls will come, asking if he has seen a girl with purple hair. Celia asks nicely, but Ryo comments that she hasn't seen anyone of that sort. Celia uses her magic scanner to scan the area. Surprisingly, Ryo emits a magical aura. They go off in search of that girl, and Celia gives him some silver coins as a reward. Ryo returns home but gets stabbed. Thanks to the coins he hung around his neck, it saved him. Before the perpetrator could kill him, a girl with a vision taught him how to use magic. Suddenly, he becomes a master of magic. After disabling the assassin, he notices a huge sack in the corner. When he opens, he sees the purple-haired girl they are looking for. Flora is scared and wants him to take her to her father. Because she saw a dead body, she passed out. Ryo carries her out, but the group of hooded girls, especially Christina, accuses him of kidnapping her sister, who is the kingdom's second princess. Vanessa needs him to come to the castle to clarify. Later, as the royal guards inspect the place, they arrest the perpetrator, who is still breathing. Among the crowd is the accomplice, and seeing that he has failed his mission, he activates something that causes the assassin to die instantly, leaving all the guards baffled. In the castle's dungeon, Ryo is annoyed that he is being tied up and tortured by Charles, the vice captain of the Royal Guard Knights. He is trying to make Ryo confess to Flora's kidnapping. Ryo keeps denying doing such heinous crimes, and Charles continues to torture him. Meanwhile, Flora wakes up and is told what happened. She goes and wants to immediately see her father. Vanessa and Celia go check on Ryo, and they are appalled to see him beaten to a pulp. When they mention that Flora owes this kid her life, they let him go. After that, Celia healed Ryo as he woke up beside her. She started apologizing for all that he had been through. She tells him he has been granted an audience with the king because he wants to express his gratitude. Ryo knows he needs to undergo protocol, so he cleans himself up and makes himself presentable. Now he goes to meet the king. With the consent of the king, Ryo is enrolled in the Royal Magic Academy. All the nobles look down on him, but luckily Celia, who is their teacher, protects him. Also, Ryo knows his place, so he doesn't care about it all. Because Ryo still can't read well, he has private tutors at Celia's place, and her place is a mess. During military training, the instructor has Ryo spar with him. He recalls that Haruto knows kendo, and everyone was shocked to see his stance. Ryo impresses the instructor, as he notes that he will make a fine knight. However, Ryo says he doesn't intend to join the knights, pissing off some of the nobles. As Ryo continues to study and work hard, the ostracizing of the others makes him remember those painful memories of Haruto. Haruto's move was due to his parents' separation. When he saw Miharu in high school, she never came back again, as though she had erased him from his life. After the exam day, Ryo occupies the top spot along with Christina, and the nobles are in disbelief, especially Alphonse, who thinks he cheated. The ladies tell him off to stop his unsightly behavior, as this makes him ungentlemanly. 5 years have passed, and an exhibition tournament will be held. Among those chosen are Alphonse and Ryo. Alphonse protests, but the instructor tells him off. After that, Ryo is talking to Celia, and she hears his intention to leave this kingdom. He is planning to return to Yagumo, his parents' hometown. The next day, during the tournament, first up is Ryo, and he is against Charles. Charles becomes desperate in trying to take him down, but Ryo remains cool, and his kendo style triumphs over the Royal Knight style. Charles wants a redo, but the referee, Alfred, tells him to stop and just accept this loss. That night, Charles gets dunked as he complains to Rias about all this. Rias is that guy who tried to kidnap Flora, and since Charles talked too much and revealed things about Ryo's torture that didn't expose anything, Rias now remembers that Ryo is the one who saved Flora. Celia wants to go congratulate Ryo for his win but then sees him going off to a secluded place. A girl who was smitten by his swordsmanship at the tournament hands him a love letter, and Celia is shocked and confused. The next day, Celia teaches how to use magic in class. After the class, Stuart is impressed with her, but he warns Ryo not to flirt with girls because of his tournament win. He even accuses Ryo of trying to flirt with Celia, which she denies. Ryo just ignores her and walks off. After that, the class has an outdoor practicum that will impact their grades. With Alphonse as the leader, he is to lead his class to a goal within a certain time frame. He and Stuart bully Rio into carrying the heavy luggage, and Flora can do nothing about it. They fight a few low-level goblins and defeat them easily. Then they reach the cliffs and have no way to go. Suddenly, they are surrounded and attacked by orcs, and when Stuart gets a little bruise, he is in pain and accidentally pushes Flora off the cliff. Rio drops down to go save her by floating her back up, and he floats down safely. After the class manages to defeat the orcs, they try to determine who pushed Flora off. Stuart tries to blame it on Rio and claims that the coward ran away and made him collide with Flora. But their issue now is getting out of here when suddenly a minotaur pops up. They all attacked, but the minotaur is so strong that even magic have no effect. When all is lost, everyone retreats. Flora is trying to treat an injured classmate when the minotaur is about to kill her. Rio, come in and kill the minotaur. Once done, Rio vanishes into the forest and won't rendezvous with the rest after hearing all that trouble. All this monster setup was done by Rias, who was testing Rio's ability. Now he knows why he can use the spirit arts. At the academy, Celia hears the Huguenot family trying to complain about Rio to Garcia Fonte. Noting that the royal family has weakened, he has no choice but to put the blame on Rio and leave it to them. When Rio returns, Celia instantly hugs him. She is glad he is okay, but soon learns of the false charges that will be brought against him. Rio is now going to move out and head to Yagumo. Celia is sad, but Rio will write letters to her under his alias, Haruto. Rio arrives as the next kingdom of Amand. He is surprised that a shop is selling soup and pasta. The owner credits it to Lyslot. Rio is advised to head to the Merchant Guild of Rika to get the stuff he wants. He is served by his maids, Lot and Cosette, for all his needs. As Rio leaves town, he sees an unconscious person on the ground. It is Latifah who tries to ambush him. Despite Rio getting poisoned, it doesn't take long before he recovers, and both of them start fighting. In the end, Rio gets the better of her. This causes Latifah to panic as she struggles, not wanting to die. Rio is forced to put her to sleep. A flashback shows Haruto on the bus. On that bus, too, was Suzunendo. She reincarnated in this world as Latifah. However, as a slave, Stuart was abused and tortured every day. Latifah wakes up as Rio assures her he has taken off a collar that forced her to be obedient. Realizing she is free, she can't help but cry. When she's done with that, she answers Rio's questions. Although she doesn't know her master's name, she only knows Stuart. Rio connects the dots, as this would make sense as to why Stuart wants him dead. Since she doesn't intend to kill him anymore, he lets her go free. He also tells her that in the east direction, wilderness is where her kind lives, and it's in the same direction Rio is going. Rio tried to tell her that she might kill him. With that, she is afraid and even wants him to put on that collar because she hates to be alone. Rio agrees to go with him and throws away his collar. Both of them continue their journey through various lands. One night, while they're camping, Rio is surprised that Latifah knows what spaghetti is. She used to eat them. Rio suspects she could be from his world. That proof is when she has nightmares while sleeping, is crying for her family, and wants to go home to Tokyo. The next morning, Latifah feels embarrassed to have slept holding onto Rio's mantle. She thinks he looks like that Haruto guy from the bus. She gets permission to call him Big Brother. During their journey, they reach an area where there is a huge tree sticking out like a sore thumb. Latifah cannot see it, so Rio thinks there might be some magic blocking it. As they walk through and then camp there, one night a magic wolf appears before Rio. The light temporarily blinds him. He is then ambushed by beast girls who think Rio is a kidnapper. Even more so when they think Latifah is his prisoner. Rio uses his hearing and senses to defend himself. He tries to reason with them, but they don't really trust humans. In the end, he was put to sleep. In his dream, he sees the girl who helped him. She doesn't know who she is, but she knows she is deeply connected to him. When he wakes up, he is chained in bed, and Latifah is seen running to hug him. She is mad at whoever did this to her. The beast girls were very ashamed of themselves. Ursula the Elder has them apologize and unlock his shackles. She even tells him that tomorrow there will be a formal meeting by the elders just to apologize to him. The next day, Ursula takes him to see the other elders, Sildora the elf and Dominic the dwarf. They formally apologize and want to show their gratitude. But Rio only has a simple request as he wants to take Latifah into their care. Because she is so attached to him, he needs to stay here for a while to lessen the impact. Dryas, who is the spirit of the world tree, then pops out to meet Rio. She senses a spirit sleeping in him but finds it odd because he never made any pact with any spirit. So she peeks into his soul and finds a person-shaped spirit sleeping there. Such spirits are rare in rank 2nd or higher. It could be one of the 6 great spirits who disappeared after the Great War with the demons 1,000 years ago. With that, the elders thought of treating him like a saint. He returns to Latifah's side, and they're going to be living in a very nice house. Plus, some of the Beast Girls, Sarah, Orphea, and Alma, are going to stay with him. After that, Rio is shown around town, and it's time for the rites of the Grand Spirit Festival to begin. Meanwhile, Rias and a newly joined newbie member descend into a cave to steal a wyvern's egg while the parent is away hunting. He lets the newbie carry the egg as they fly back to their kingdom. Rias knows that soon those hordes of wyverns will be chasing after them in no time. In the festival, Rio talks to Ursula about wanting to leave this village soon, and he needs to tell Latifah. Meanwhile, Rias and the young lad rest nearby. Since Rias is going away to do some business, he has him guard the egg. He also assures him of what to do should any troubles arise. As soon as the horde of wyverns is gone, Rias returns to the cave and steals all the other eggs. Rio talks to Latifah about leaving the village. She throws a tantrum because she wants to go with him. He refuses since it will be dangerous. Latifah can't accept it and runs away. Sarah and the rest detect something strange within the barrier as they go check it out. They see the young lad. When they try to talk to him, he rides the griffin and flees. At the same time, he is attacked by the wyvern. Realizing that he is heading towards the village, they need to warn the villagers as well as keep the wyvern at bay. As Rias has finished his harvesting, he uses his magic to kill the young lad. Latifah is surprised when she sees a dead corpse, a broken wyvern egg, and an angry mother wyvern. Thanks to Alma, she is saved. But learning that the wyvern might be targeting the village, she makes a dangerous move to distract it. Here comes Rio to save her again after he hears what's going on. He defeats the wyvern with his own bare hands. This sends the other wyverns fleeing. The next day, Rio and Latifah talked properly. She really wants to be his little sister, as he is a very kind and caring person. She accepts his leaving for Yagumo. In turn, he explains why he wants to return there. This is when Latifah also reveals her reincarnation. She is surprised to hear Rio admit the same. He didn't tell her because of her unstable mental state. It is also a reason he wants to go to Yagumo since he has regrets back in Japan. Latifah promises to get stronger and will wait for his return here. Before Rio leaves, everyone gives him very nice gifts. One of the gifts is time-space storage and a wyvern armor coat. And off Rio goes as Latifah tearfully bids him goodbye. Rio reaches Yagumo and is taken to see the village chief, Yuba. Explaining about his parents and his reason for traveling here to make a grave for his parents, Yuba reveals that she is Rio's grandma. She is the mother of his father. Currently, her only other living relative is Ruri, who is the daughter of Rio's father's late older brother. She also takes him to their graves, which they have already erected. As his parents had to secretly leave the village, it is possible they would most likely never return, so they made the graves. Rio asked for what reason. She cannot tell now and only when the time is right. As Rio is going to stay here for a while, he needs to make himself useful. He meets other villagers, such as Seo and her brother Shin. Rio is a master of all trades, so he is superior to Shin in everything, making this guy jealous. One time he improvised on some baths, and Ruri and Seo were impressed with it, but apparently not Shin. Making him even more jealous is that the girls cling to him and stand by him. But trouble soon comes waltzing in. Gon, who is the son of the neighboring village chief, is here on the pretense of stopping by to rest as he was on his way to the capital to trade when his cart broke down. Shin tries to punch her but is too weak. With Yuba here, she allows him to stay, but with strict conditions. Next day, Yuba and Rio will welcome the tax examiner, Hei, who checks the rick stocks of this village. That night, Gon comes in for Ruri and Seo. Thanks to the trap laid out by Rio, Gon is caught red-handed. But that scene sparked some familiar trauma. This has made Rio keep punching Gon to a pulp. But Hayate stopped him and is gonna arrest Gon and sends him for punishment. Rio regrets that he has been delaying taking retribution all this time and that he might end up like the person who killed his mother. The next morning, he apologizes to everyone. But they understand and instead are grateful for protecting the girls. Before departing the village, Yuba gives Hayate a letter for his father. Rio accompanies Seo and Shin to the royal capital. In the capital, Rio buys Seo a hair ornament. The shopkeeper is even telling her to do her best because this young man has a lot of competition going on. In brazen daylight, there is a kidnapping in public. But luckily, Rio steps in and saves the day. Meanwhile, Hayate gives the letter to his father, Gauki. Shocked that he has met Rio, he is then asked to meet them. Gauki reveals the truth. He and his wife were attendants to his mother, who is of royal lineage. During a time when the kingdoms were at war, Zen was scouted as a great warrior. So great were his skills that he was selected to be Iam's guard, and they fell in love with each other. When the war ended and the kingdoms were to sign a truce, the ambassador of the neighboring country liked Iam and tried to kidnap her. Zen foiled his plans. Unhappy, he then demanded that if the truce was to be finalized, Zen must be executed and Iam be given as a political marriage. So they let them run away, and the king arranged it in secret. They have had no contact whatsoever since, but now that Gauki has received Yuba's letter, he is certain that Ryo is Iam's son. Ryo is then brought to see the king and queen, who are his grandparents. They want to know about Iam's and Zen's deaths. Ryo doesn't know much about his father, as he passed away when he was young. As for his mom, he was killed before his eyes by Lucius, who is supposed to be Zen's comrade. The next thing Ryo knew, he was living in the slums. Ryo wants revenge on Lucius, and is willing to dirty his hands and walk down the path of hell to kill this guy. But the king wants to ascertain if he is strong enough for that, so he has Gauki spar with him. But Ryo surpasses everything to easily defeat Gauki. With everything in order, Ryo pays his respects at his parents' grave before moving ahead with his revenge goal. Ruri finds it hard to believe that Ryo is of royal lineage, and then she gets awkward realizing all that. Ryo then tells them his plan. In 1 year's time, he plans to leave Yagumo. The next day, all the girls get suspicious and jealous when Ruri's way of talking to Ryo changes. As the time goes by, Ryo one day tells Seo about his plan to leave since he hopes the spirit arts he taught her will be useful when he is gone. Later, she thought of crying alone, but Shin caught her and thought Ryo did it. She tries to deny Ryo has any part in this, but Shin rushes off to see Ryo. Instantly, he prostrates himself, asking Ryo not to leave. Seo feels embarrassed about this and will talk things out with Ryo. During the harvest festival, Seo finally summons the courage to confess to Ryo. However, he turns her down. She wants to follow him and even promises to train herself not to get in his way. The answer is still no. Ryo leaves very early in the morning. Seo is seen waiting at the gates to see him off. The last time, not only Shin consoled her but Gauki as well. He asked her if she really loved Ryo, and would cast aside this village for him. But she can't leave the village, so she bids him farewell. Ryo returns to the World Tree. Everyone was happy to greet him. After that, he meets the elders as he tells of his journey. During his travels, he thought a portable house that could be fitted into the time-space storage would be helpful. Then Ryo pays a visit to the girls, who are so happy he is back, but he can only stay here for a few months before leaving again. But he promises to be back sooner. The next morning, Ryo is shocked to find a girl sleeping next to him. The girl wakes up and claims she is Ryo's contracted spirit. Though she is amnesiac and knows nothing else, she refers to him as Haruto and claims she knows everything about him. As Haruto, she has no name and wants him to name her. After noticing how similar she looks to Miharu, he calls her Asia. Then they go see Dryas and the elders for advice. Dryas doesn't recognize this spirit. She thinks she is one of those 6 great spirits. Dryas also says she should have retained the memories of her previous life before contracting. Asia tells them that she is Haruto's spirit, and Nil is confused who is Haruto. With that, Ryo reveals to them that he was wanted in the district of Stall when he went by the name of Haruto. Dryas asked, what element is Asia good at? She answered that she is good with all of them. Outside, they test her out, with Ryo fighting Asia. The two of them are matched and could have destroyed the village had Dryas not stopped them. She will impart spirit knowledge to Asia so everyone continue to live a peaceful life. Once Dominic is done with the mobile rock house, complete with a nice bath, Ryo wants to get going by tomorrow. As Ryo leaves, they give him a teleport stone that will bring him back here once and a pin that changes his hair color since he is a wanted man. Back in Beltram, Charles was being aggressive, and Celia was having some sort of uncomfortable relationship with him. When Ryo and Asia return to the capital, they sneak into Celia's room to see her, but it is cleared out and empty. Using some hypnotic magic to ask a fellow professor, it seems Celia will be married off to Charles tomorrow. He also revealed that this is a political marriage and not out of true love. A couple of years ago, Beltram went to war with their neighboring country, Proxia, and suffered a crushing defeat. The Arbor House managed to negotiate for peace, and the royal family lost its power and authority. The Huguenot faction was made to take responsibility, but they fled the country with the royalty. The only thing left is to see Celia in person and ask her if this is what she wants. Celia, her father, and Charles are having dinner. Her father pledges his loyalty to the country, but because of rumors that he is secretly siding with the Huguenots, Charles doesn't really trust him and threatens him to take some sort of responsibility, and this marriage is to help protect his standing. The night before the wedding, Celia remembered Ryo. Before she could burn his letter away, Ryo came. She was skeptical at first, but after ascertaining it was really him, she gave him a big hug. She notes how much taller, handsomer, dashing, and stronger he has become. So he asks about the wedding. Celia is lying and saying it is her decision. Then she jokes that he should marry her instead and elope somewhere. She brushes it all off as a joke and tells him to leave and not come to the ceremony. After he leaves, she finally cries. Haruto returns to Asia. Early the next morning, Charles and Rias meet. Because their countries are hostile to each other, Rias warns against fraternizing with him so openly. After that, Charles goes to see Celia, who comes in her wedding dress, and Charles is happy. But to calm her down, he has his wife tend to her. The first wife, Tenasina, tries to throw her weight around and remind her of the pecking order in which Celia obediently nods to her every command. Luckily, Christina is here to see Celia personally. It is a weird and sad feeling for Christina because now that the royalty has lost power, she is able to walk around like this. She also feels bad that, thanks to the royalty losing the war, the ill effects have resulted in this wedding. Even more so, Celia has lost her smile from her teaching days. For that, Christina is truly sorry. The wedding ceremony begins. The huge crowd happily greets the beautiful bride and her groom. Rio is here as he sends Asia to telepathically communicate with Celia. When she realizes Rio is in the crowd, she starts to tear up. She feels embarrassed that he has seen her in this state. Charles is worried when she suddenly cries, but she covers it up by saying that she is happy. Charles claims that this is all part of his plan to take over the kingdom one day. Because Celia cannot talk with Asia anymore, she thought it was all a dream. As Celia is about to step out of the carriage, suddenly an intruder rushes towards her. It's Rio. Rio fights all the soldiers. So many, and yet they can't do anything about him. And Charles thought security was flawless. Rio goes in front of him, punches Charles in the gut, and takes Celia hostage. Nobody can do anything, thinking it'll aggravate the situation. Rio used telepathic communication with Celia if this is what she wants. She told him that this was his decision. Rio would hate to lose things that are precious to him, like his mom, who is truly precious to him. He can make her wish come true and escape this kingdom with her. Celia approves of taking him away. The soldiers try to corner Rio, but he jumps over them. Rias is part of the guests, and although he doesn't recognize Rio physically, his magic feels familiar, and he believes this is Rio. He tests him with an energy ball, which he manages to deflect. Rias is happy he has grown stronger. Alfred takes over the security, and has the guards do a wide search of the city as he tells Charles to shut up. In an alley, Rio leaves Celia in Asia's care. They'll meet up later, as Rio will buy time as a decoy. Rio starts to run to lure them and fight them. He meets Alfred to fight him one-on-one because he can't pile up the injuries. Alfred is in a class of his own, but Rio takes the chance to escape after he unleashes a powerful magic move. Alfred believes he didn't hit Rio, and that he has fled. True enough, Rio reunites with Celia and Asia on the outskirts. Some little romantic time together until the sky turns dark and starts shooting down colored beams. Asia senses something is wrong and tells Rio to go save them. Over the plains, a pair of siblings, Akisendu and her brother, Masato, are seen lost and with Miharu. However, they are kidnapped by thugs to be sold. Thank goodness for Rio coming in just in time. He slaughtered them all. As he frees them, he sees Miharu from her cell. Thank you for watching till the end, and please don't forget to subscribe.